In the beginning, people had nothing. Their bodies ached, and their hearts held nothing but hatred. They fought endlessly, but death never came. They despaired, stuck in the eternal quagmire. A man offered a serpent to the sun and prayed for salvation. A woman offered a reed to the sun and asked for joy. Feeling pity for the sadness that had overrun the earth, God was born from those two people. It must be this way. One day you will understand why. You must try to remember me and your true self as well. You will birth a god and build an eternal paradise.
No matter how bright the world is, underneath darkness awaits. Deep in the abyss of time rests a plane of existence that houses those who pass from the living. The Undead Realm. A vast desert of perdition, this intermediate bardo of existence housing the hollow souls of the damned. They who have forsaken righteousness, now wandering to meet the judgment of the Dark Lord himself. Father, yes, son. And while Vince managed to tap into its resources when creating his company, even featuring a necromancer who was controlled by the ashes of an urn that turned on God mode and was truly the most OP supernatural artifact in wrestling history. See how ridiculous Undertaker and Kane really are? It's all ridiculous. The man shot goddamn lightning out of his hands. He rose from the dead like summoned the dead even, went rolling. He was a wizard who was rolling a nat 20. His brother is the devil's favorite demon and summoned fire and sexual assault. And Mordecai? You want to know what the most polarizing thing in wrestling is? It's probably horror. People despise it, but others love it. But horror in wrestling can provide some of the most unique stories in professional wrestling if the company and the wrestlers lean all the way in and just let it be what it is. You will never have an A24 style horror wrestling just by the nature of how wrestling is filmed. It will always come off be horror, but that's fine. Thanksgiving just came out, but when the company scales back like they did with Bray Wyatt his entire career, it comes off bad. And like bad comedy in wrestling, bad horror in wrestling is just awful. But you will never hear me say that. I've always loved horror in wrestling. I like the creativity that comes with it, even if it comes off with lesser production than early Smosh videos. I love it. And there is a company that leaned in heavily on this, and it was Impact Wrestling. Oh, Impact Wrestling. I mean, is it Impact? No, it's TNA Wrestling, right? TNA Wrestling. The land of experimentation and innovation. TNA has done some stupid things in their stubborn past, but they've also innovated commonalities amongst modern American wrestling, not just with the X Division and their stars, but their women's division took what Shimmer was doing in the indies and allowed talented women to wrestle on TV when WWE was still diva-ing. Then let's take cinematic wrestling, which is not a new concept in wrestling at all, but Impact took what Lucha Underground was doing and really leaned in on television tropes like killing off Mickie James, because Impact Wrestling exists within its own alternate universe, folks. Mickie James, tossed off a train by James Storm, is now dead in the greater Impact Cinematic Wrestling universe. Bye, country girl. People like Broken Matt Hardy took Impact Cinematic Wrestling to the next level with fully edited and scored segments that were bad on every level of filmmaking, but awesome in how ridiculous and novel it was, and by how far Matt Hardy went into his broken character. It's like Roger Corman decided to take on wrestling. It was respectable. WWE learned from Impact, and you can see it during their pandemic times. I'm glossing over a lot of Impact's contributions to wrestling, but my biggest compliment for them is their absolute willingness to experiment and see what happens. You don't see that anywhere else, really, because one example of very consistent long-term storytelling rests in the entire arc of one character. A character within the realm of the supernatural who told supernatural horror stories, and a great performer on top. It was done very well with not only a payoff, but it was strangely complete in form. A wrestling story with a beginning, middle, and end with many twists and turns. And it's also a horror story, and it's in Impact Wrestling. It's time, as voted by my Patreon, the Undead Bride, Su Yung. Long ago, there existed. Lore. Su Yung's backstory is unknown, but we can detail lots just from what little is given. We know she was a bride. We know she's undead. She's covered in blood, so we can guess that she was murdered on her wedding day, but not just murdered, gruesomely murdered. Her vengeance, much like Sadako of the Ringu series, bound her into this plane of existence to inflict harm to the living. She became a leader of her undead bridesmaids, and Su has the power to summon these maids to do her bidding. She has supernatural power of strength and extreme tolerance to pain, yet you can sense her reliving the trauma of her death when inflicted with submissions that face. Su Yung can teleport and summon mist, but seems to be very limited in power compared to the other supernatural characters. Within the Undead Realm, Su Yung is all-powerful. She appeared in Impact Wrestling and immediately captivated me with her entrance, her look, her nuanced performances. Su Yung is a remarkable wrestler that is very talented in the performing arts. She plays this character very, very well, always in the zone, never phoning it in, and she did it 3 different times as 3 different characters. Su has solid offense that fits the demonic nature of this wraith, utilizing unique moves like the Arachnorana, the hanging pedigree, and her finishers, the panic switch. And still, my favorite use of the mandible claw, utilizing the bloody wedding glove on her death day. A combination of a killer look, a killer presentation, wonderful acting chops, and solid offense led to a great character in Impact Wrestling. But her story is not just that of a supernatural entity that haunts a wrestler and just loses. Her entire Impact Wrestling arc involves many talented women wrestlers and features themes of friendship, sacrifice, loss, forgiveness, and female power, sisters of the goddamn moon. There's trauma, there's disassociation, there's absurdity, there's a zombie woman in Japan, and most of all, a happy ending. All wrapped in a horror story. This story starts not with Su Yung, but Allie, the bunny. Within the Impact universe, Allie is this meek, quiet girl, a typical Virgo, who's also vegan and is only 7 days older than me, so we are Virgo twinsies. Oh my god. She was brought into the TNA universe as the apprentice to Maria Kanellis. Within the universe, Allie hasn't had a match yet, still training, but has big ambitions to make it big. By complete fluke, her innocence was rewarded with the Knockouts title in what can only be described as TNA being TNA. You know, it's like Dark Souls 2 being Dark Souls 2. Tangential example, you have Earthen Peak, a little poisonous windmill tower that has a broken tower, you see it? And absolutely nothing around and above, certainly no volcano. And then we go whoop, up this elevator here, and outside, and what the actual fuck? Where did this come from? The majority of the time, that's TNA. However, Maria was upset at Allie. Her apprentice won the Knockouts title. How dare she? And this overbearing Karen forced her to lay down and lose the title to her, or else Maria would fire her. Despite her unwillingness, Allie, being a Virgo like myself, could be quite a pushover with enough conflict, and thus she allowed Maria to pin her. She even announced her as the new Knockouts champion. Impact, in their beautiful broken clock charm, played the long game as Allie eventually turned on Maria and formed an alliance with real-life boyfriend Braxton Sutter, aka the Blade of AEW, and within the universe started training to become a wrestler, sending Maria out of Impact Wrestling for good. Allie started to become what she wanted, a wrestler, and she has aims for the Knockout Championship and a boyfriend. She is winning. Then Allie would befriend the most interesting of friends. Rosemary. Rosemary is not one person but a collective, a hive mind, referring to themselves as the collective we.
We are Rosemary. We are the demon assassin. We are darkness and chaos made flesh.
They are the demon assassin, taking orders from a mysterious dark entity named the Shadow. Previously, Rosemary was a part of a collective called the Decay, a group of carnies that had Marilyn Manson music, but now has shifted back into slaying demons. The Shadow sent Rosemary to protect Allie, this innocent bunny, and Rosemary does so without fully understanding as to why. But the Shadow knew something we all didn't know, didn't it? We know nothing of the Shadow's intentions, but looking back, life is quite cruel. Although trepidatious like the bunny she is, their companionship grew strong as Demon Bunny, the wide-eyed bunny, and the murderous, violent, psychopathic hive mind of terror, Rosemary. And this lore is its own adventure. They have 6 seasons of a side quest on YouTube all about their friendship, and it's fun character work. And despite their flourishing oddball relationship, Allie's relationship with Sutter would suddenly end, as Homeboy was insecure and couldn't handle losing and was all like, you know, it's her fault. Yeah, woman keeping me down because I'm a man. Oh, I'm a big man. Screw the woman, it's her fault. No, I'm the man. I'm the man. But despite her setback in her love life, Allie used this to motivate her as a wrestler and was rewarded when she beat Laura Von Ness for the Knockouts Championship, this time winning it on her own merits. She was on top of the world, a strange best friend, Knockouts champion, and a bright future ahead. Until Sutter crawled back to grovel to Allie because now that she's a single independent woman with success, now he suddenly desires her again. Allie is too good for him though, but before Allie could say anything, the summoned Su Yung appears and attacks her. Picture this, a sleazeball, insecure loser like Sutter, who broke up with a potential marriage with Allie, summons a goddamn wraith to haunt his ex-girlfriend as vengeance for being successful. This takes Red Pill Reddit to a whole new level, and thus, for seemingly existing, nice girl, innocent Allie became an unwilling participant in the satanic rituals of Impact Wrestling. So stupid. Su Yung would torment Allie in a match where she would disqualify herself by trying to kill her. Allie would survive barely with her life, but the sadistic Su Yung wasn't done tormenting this pretty blonde bunny. She would send her undead bridesmaids to taunt her with a coffin that she would make her rest in. But this time, Allie was saved by her companion, Rosemary. Facing the demon, this demon assassin may have realized what the Shadow wanted out of her when becoming Allie's friend, to wage war against this demon, the Undead Bride, Su Yung. But Rosemary still wouldn't accept Allie's help in this war. Allie has nothing to do with this battle of the supernatural, so stay out. Rosemary and Su Yung would battle in a war, but the Undead Bride's Legion would appear to kill Rosemary. Su Yung overpowers the assassin, hits a panic switch off the stage and destroys Rosemary, locking them in the coffin while Allie watches in horror. But Su Yung wasn't finished just yet. She needed to make sure Rosemary's soul would never return. To do so, she set the coffin on fire, burning Rosemary's soul into ashes. But Rosemary is not one soul, but a hive of souls, and the spirit of Rosemary was able to possess her best friend, her companion, the bunny. Perhaps the Shadow knew all along. In this battle against the Undead Bride, Rosemary would lose and would need a vessel. Through Allie, the knockout champion, she would slowly drive her into a darker, more aggressive personality and don the look of the demon bunny to wage vengeance against Su Yung. Entering as Allie, but channeling Rosemary all through the entrance alone to project this idea, because wrestling is beautiful theater of the absurd. Look at this perfect scream by Allie into Rosemary's theme.
Summoning the spirit of her fallen friend Rosemary.
They would wage war, Young dominating over Allie, but the possession would take over and surprise Sue. The red mist, but Allie super kicks her, causing Sue to swallow the poison mist into the coffin to die. But no, this horror story doesn't end so easily. The mandible claw by Su Yung suffocates the demonic bunny, slowly taking the breath away from Allie and kills her as Su Yung wins the last rites match. Sue sends Allie away into the Undead Realm and stands on top of the women's division of Impact Wrestling. Su Yung, the leader of the Undead and champion of the Knockouts. She sent 2 people to rest. As champion, she would participate in a side quest involving a third, the retirement of a misunderstood shade who need to be at peace before they ended their career. 1. Maho Kurone. Maho Kurone is a zombie, and I just found out about her and immediately love it. Maho wrestled for TJPW from 2016 to 2018, and her short period was marked by a fun gimmick that started from a zombie goth girl to full-blown zombie. Like she would march into Korn's twist going like She teamed quite often with Rika Tatsumi as the Dragon Bombers. In the ring, Maho would do all things zombie, the snapping, the biting, the chasing, the scaring, even biting us. Oh, she's biting us. She's biting everything. Watch out, call Rick Grimes. We need Rick Grimes. Oh, call. Oh, call. From the little I've seen, Maho Kurone performed this character very well, fully committed to the performance down to the laughter itself. Maho immediately appealed to me from the aesthetic, reminding me of the old Hot Topic Tim Burton Nightmare Before Christmas, Jehonan Vossius Edward Gory Goth vibe, playing dead to full opposites into a false sense of security, and then with self-inflicted wounds over the neck and an obvious symbolism to such with the moves. Maho would have been my favorite wrestler in high school/college. The character takes on more and more meaning through her performance. There was legs with such character, and I could see interesting stories happening. She was even awarded a Princess of Princess title match against Miyu Yamashita in a fun match. Real life, however, is a reminder that not everyone in wrestling is meant for wrestling or the greater public eye in any form of art. Anxiety is a big deal in performance art, and socializing and just being in front of people can just suck. As someone who also went through extreme bouts of anxiety and just in general has social anxiety and would rather just not, you know? The idea of performing in front of others is like a big no. And anxiety never feels like you. It's something over you, looming above. Its claws digging deep behind your neck, where the bones fuse together and it stings deep in your blood. A fright, a chill that upon triggering fires off a flight or fight riposte, and given my eternal weak introverted kryptonite traveling the road of least resistance, my response frozen still to hide amongst sight, as the looming monster, that giant spider of your own anxiety controls the night. All the strings and renders you useless, tight with the venom of your societal expectations and your own self-imposed toxic limits, alright? I'm not Maho, and I dare not speak for another with anxiety, but the zombie character feels like a release. Like most performing arts, the catharsis is playing the character itself, being an actor, and having a character to play would have maybe done me a lot of good, but having a zombie character release the very inner demons that were haunting me in the form of this absurd form of pro wrestling theater. Yes, as an artist, that appeals to me greatly, as the art of making art is therapy in itself. It's why we can be so sensitive at times, because we are naked out there when an audience does view our work. Our souls are out there to be judged and scorned in today's age, double and louder in size, and this only fuels the eldritch nightmare that is anxiety, tendrils of self-hate over a vast infinite sea of tumultuous waves of that which could have been. Maho Kurone's anxiety was said to be a specific cultural type of anxiety, a social anxiety called TKS. The wiki says it involves anxiety of extremely embarrassing themselves or fearful of displeasing others with their appearance, a very specific social phobia and one that seems deeply tied to Japanese culture that I wouldn't dare comment on, but this anxiety was enough to contribute to Maho's decision to leave wrestling altogether. I dedicate this whole section to Maho because within discovering her in the 1 hour search I did, I was deeply moved. She would end up ending her career with 2 matches specifically, teaming with knockout champion Su Yung. Oh, see? I tied it back around. Oh, yes. The undead bride teaming with a zombie who walks to the ring eating a dead hand. Oh, yes. They faced Yuka Sakazaki and Shoko Nakajima and scared the ever-living shit out of them. Like Su would summon Satan into Yuka's face like... And both would do such awesome work together, but Shoko would overcome the zombie woman and hit a big senton for the win. This caused a rift between the two and led to further conflict. Su Yung would face off against Maho in what would be her last match. A great match too, immediately beginning with a bite off. Oh, and they bite the ref. Oh, he's dead now. It's over for him. He's fucked. He's fucked. Someone cut his arm off. No, do it. Oh, he's fucked. He's fucked. And then they proceed to have a match between 2 very committed actors to their bits. I appreciated the fuck out of it. Maho growling aggressively throughout and Su Yung beating the ever-living shit out of her. And Maho just keeps this Cheshire grin throughout. It's beautiful work, honestly. Su looks ancient, the glove, old, gross, and decrepit, torturing the zombie who just growls bloody Walking Dead murder, charging like a World War Z zombie, moving like the wind in the ring, and landing Germans wonderfully, brawling outside, and Su performing murder, screaming into the ref like... And watch as Maho dies to a chair as she just giggles like so creepily waiting for Su to murder her. A final trigger warning of self-harm. The laughter. Then dueling mandible claws with the glove and the dead hand. The final rise of the dead and the fighting. The hanging pedigree doesn't end her, so a final, beautifully done panic switch finishes off Maho Kurone in what would be her final match. Maho has earned the undead bride's respect though, and she gives her a glove that Maho graciously bites. But wait, Maho has a gift for Su Yung. A ring for the undead bride. And Maho Kurone exits the world of professional wrestling. I hope with all the intention and grace that I can give that you are well and being left alone. Hi, this is Madison Rain. Madison Rain is basically like...
I'm Taylor Fisher, and I'm a bitch.
and Madison Rain is here. Oh, like, I'm so Madison, and like, too young, Hanser, for girl. But the person who would save Madison Rain is Allie. What? Because Allie is not dead. Oh, we're back in Impact, folks. Dark Souls 2. She would make a deal with he who is in contact with the devil, Father James Mitchell, and she unlocks her body to return to the living for revenge against Su Yung, but had to leave her soul behind. This is wrestling. Remember, this is wrestling. Allie seeks to win the title back from Sue in a triple threat against Tessa Blanchard, who would end up stealing the victory and the title away with this face here. Su Yung would seek vengeance differently. The Knockouts title meant nothing to her. Her torture of Allie is far more important, to take her to the Undead Realm once and for all. But Kiera Hogan would attempt to save Allie, but Homegirl had no idea what she was doing and got sent to the Undead Realm instead. Despite having no soul, Allie felt compelled to rescue her friend and went back to Father James Mitchell for help, who agrees to leave the entrance to the realm unopened for her to enter. During the live Bound for Glory pay-per-view, and before, this was a common thing in the pandemic to have a cinematic wrestling match in the middle of a pay-per-view. Allie, the former innocent bunny with a boyfriend in a dream, traveled to the Undead Realm where she killed many undead bridesmaids. She was told specifically not to touch her soul that is trapped down there, and if Allie had any hope at all in this story, if there was any pivotal moment, one that cannot be undone, it's this one, because Allie couldn't resist. In the Silent Hill Chapel, Allie battled a superpowered Su Yung in bloody warfare, striking an axe in her neck and killing her. She rescued Kiera Hogan from the coffin and went to escape, but oh wait, James Mitchell never said Allie could get out. Su Yung returns from the dead, and the rest of the bridesmaids converge. Oh, hi, Rosemary. Rosemary saves them from death and goes, no, Rosemary, just leave. No, leave. As the undead brides and Su Yung overcome Rosemary and trap her in the Undead Realm forever. Allie and Kiera escape, but at what cost? Because Allie didn't leave as just herself, for an empty vessel can be filled. With a growing evil rising inside her, Allie would become more and more aggressive and suddenly realize that her friends were in danger. With enough self-awareness to understand her mistake, she knew it was a matter of time before she fully succumbed to evil. So she joined Father James Mitchell and Su Yung to protect her friends, even repeating the same line from Rosemary.
It's not what I want. That's how it has to be. Allie!
It's not what we want. It's how it has to be.
Allie will revert back to her dark bunny persona, fully on the evil path. The demon bunny completely possessed. Evil has won. The good bunny is long gone, replaced with this evil version. With hope extinguished, Rosemary would suddenly return in Ultra Demon Assassin mode. She escaped the Undead Realm, a vengeful warrior, and confronts Allie. And both of these performers deliver the goods. Allie with spastic tics as the real her attempts to overcome the possession. Rosemary intense and fully in the zone. In the end, Allie cannot fight her best friend and overpowers the body of the demon bunny, fleeing. Now, in existential despair, Rosemary would continuously try to reach out and communicate with Allie to return to herself, leading to James Mitchell to offer Allie up for a prize in an all-out dark war. Team Rosemary versus Team Su Yung. Rosemary is willing to fight alone with their hive mind, but Kiera Hogan and a very out of place Jordan Grace offers their help, leading to an all-out war against Su Yung, where Rosemary had this Dark Lord entrance all like, and they battled under mood lighting, and it was weird and chaotic and full of insane personalities plus the totally normal Jordan Grace. But Rosemary would conquer Su Young's team and win back Allie from Father James Mitchell. But once again, always read the fine print. Father James Mitchell returned Allie to Rosemary, but just her vessel, for her soul still resides within the Undead Realm. Rosemary's attempts to bring Allie back would prove fruitless. The Allie they once knew is long gone. Her soul now belongs to Satan. Rosemary has no choice but to have a little chat with the devil himself. She takes Allie along to the Undead Realm, and inside a ring awaits Father James Mitchell, once again having tricked Rosemary as to have an audience with the Dark Lord. She must have a battle royal. Oh shit! Rosemary has to face a Luchasaurus and fucking bash his brains in, and then kill these two here like Jesus. But oh, the many undead bridesmaids surround her. But wait, it's Kiera Hogan. They told her to stay behind, but she's here with a giant ass sword, and then she just tosses it off screen, and then the editor of this thing makes it land right to Rosemary, and then she goes and kills all the bridesmaids. It's ridiculous. Oh, but here's Sue, unlocking the collar of Dark Allie, the final battle between the four, as Allie has a chance to kill Rosemary once and for all, and this badass assassin letting her because she knows her friend is still in there, deep inside. And she's correct. Allie cannot kill her companion. Sue is overtaken, and Rosemary's gonna kill the undead bride once and for all. But James Mitchell has Hogan hostage, leading to his appearance. Satan. Kevin Sullivan. The fight for Allie's soul culminates as Su Yung goes for the final kill on Rosemary, but in one act of defiance, Allie shoves Rosemary out of the way and takes a claw to the neck. The bunny lays in Rosemary's arms, and Allie's soul returns to her right at the very end of her life. This once innocent, wide-eyed bunny, filled with ambition to be a wrestler, happy with a boyfriend, thrown into a terrible horror of Su Yung, thrown into an insane battle of demonic forces with Rosemary. She was possessed twice. She lost her soul. She's been a champion. She's been subjugated into servitude for Satan, but Allie never regretted it, for she had her companionship with Rosemary because of it. And with her soul returned and in the arms of her bestie, now Allie can die in peace. And so she passes, but her body doesn't remain in hell, for Allie left this plane of existence to AEW. As cheesy as this whole story arc was, and especially this segment, it was consistent and led, on paper that is, to an emotional payoff with a full character arc for Allie, who was the main character in a horror story that found her losing everything that she had, her whole identity, to fight horrors and demons, to being possessed, to fighting in hell, all wrapped in a best friend story. And Rosemary, right there and then, must have learned that perhaps the shadow is a cruel master indeed, for it told Rosemary to save Allie in the beginning, and it was this act and their will to protect Allie. For being Impact Cinematic Wrestling with the quality of a college film course, this was very well done for all three women involved. Major props to Rosemary, however, as Rosemary was one of my favorite women wrestlers around this time. I loved watching this insane hive mind just talk and be in character, just be in the zone. Wonderful performer. Su Yung killed Rosemary's best friend, and she's left with despair of what has happened, acknowledging her part in this, but also acknowledging the true villain in this whole story, Father James Mitchell. Rosemary wanted to make Su Yung feel just like they did, experience the loss of a best friend, so Rosemary kidnapped Su Young's undead maid of honor. But without friends, Rosemary cannot defend herself against the bride. She has to challenge her to all-out war, a demon caller match. The winner gets the other. Rosemary wearing the demon bunny shirt of their friendship, meeting with the mist, the beauty of the colors, the demons battle and brawl, and it's violent. There's strangulation, there's tumbling, there's violence, there's a mandible claw blocking Rosemary's green mist, choking it on her own mist, but they catch Su Yung mid-air, counter with the green mist, poisoning their wrath and hitting a spear, followed quickly by the red wedding on Su Young's skull for the victory. Rosemary, the demon assassin, has finally beaten the undead bride and avenged Allie. But Rosemary is not finished. She strangles Su Yung and takes her out of the arena. Now, Su Yung belongs to the demon assassin. With the undead bride as their hostage, James Mitchell now wants to finish Rosemary off once and for all. To do this, he finds the best person to handle the job, the Jessica Havoc. This monstrous toxic woman destroys Rosemary and gives her a big-ass tombstone piledriver that's awesome as fuck, allowing James Mitchell to free Su Yung from the demon caller. And once again, Su Yung has an alliance with Mitchell. However, Jessica Havoc is not part of the supernatural realm of wrestling and only wants the Knockouts Championship. She is not interested in playing the long game or to follow James Mitchell's orders and cost Su Yung the Knockouts title against Taya Valkyrie. The gloves were off. Havoc is too greedy and has pissed off the wrong Wraith. They will face each other in a four-way dance along with Rosemary and Taya Valkyrie for the Knockouts Championship in a Monsters Ball match. And this was a dope match, a chaotic brawl between all the players, the convulsions of Su Yung as Taya staples her face to Su's face, the eternal war between Rosemary and Su, tying each other in a demon collar and killing each other, this awesome spider suplex Tower of Doom onto the ladder by Taya Valkyrie, the Monsters Ball staple of the thumbtacks by Rosemary, who ends up getting curb stomped right onto them. Su and Havoc break down their alliance completely when Su Yung sprays Mitchell in the face with the red mist. Now they're fighting. Oh, they're fighting. Taya takes out Rosemary for good, and Su tries to kill Havoc on the apron, but she's too strong and gives her a brutal second rope tombstone onto the thumbtacks. Her convulsing body dead as Havoc covers her, but Taya with the chair and then steals the victory. Looks like the biggest monster of them all won Monsters Ball. A Canadian. Both of them cost each other a potential championship, leading to Su Yung to actually speak for once in her own demonic language, challenging Havoc to a war. Thus, would face off again in a no DQ match in Mexico City, where they would ravage each other, including Su Yung stapling Jessica Havoc's oh my god! But the monstrous rage of Havoc was too much for Su Yung, and she fell to a brutal tombstone. But Su Yung is eternal. She exists primarily for vengeance. You cannot simply end the feud of her. She will continue to fight back until you do the one thing you can only do in Impact Wrestling Universe. Jessica Havoc hangs Su Yung backstage and kills the undead bride. But Su Yung wasn't dead. Instead, her personality was deeply repressed into the mind of little old innocent Susie, now a wide-eyed bunny. The altar who compartmentalized her trauma away to survive, and this was the result.
Hi, I'm Susie.
And Susie was great at comedy. She took the role seriously, reacting to things Susie would hear for the first time, like the ring shaking or headphones with voices in them. She was a gem at the time.
Do you have have any leads?
She wandered back into the impact zone due to being drawn there, and immediately became apparent to Rosemary and Jessica Havoc that she had no memories of her time as Su Yung. Most would want to keep it that way, mainly Father James Mitchell, who saw an opportunity to groom an innocent girl into being the bride of Satan. It was creepy stuff on James' part. Oh my god, leave her alone. Oh, it's gross. But Rosemary wouldn't have it. She would taunt Susie and attempt to bring her back. She would fight Havoc and spray green mist into Mitchell's face, allowing Susie a chance to wander away as she would normally do. This allowed Rosemary to find her and trick her into entering the ring to find what Susie's been looking for. Back in the same building that Su Yung was hung, Rosemary wanted to summon the undead bride back out of Susie to get at James Mitchell, but Susie is too innocent. She doesn't want to be a wrestler. She just likes the lights and the crowd and saying hi. Oh, hi, Susie.
No, that's bad. That's bad.
She doesn't want to fight Rosemary. Oh, leave her alone, not the slap. But Rosemary's aggression would trigger Susie back into a panic state. The old glove of Su Yung switches her back, and the old Su Yung starts to come out, taking the fight into the back. Rosemary hangs Susie with the noose again to bring her out, reactivating all that trauma and pain of dying again. And Su Yung is back from the depths of Susie. Rosemary has succeeded, and Su Yung is after Havoc again, leading to a grand finale in the Undead Realm. Su Yung is done with Father James Mitchell and Satan. She was an undead bride for far too long. Now she's out for vengeance, but Havoc is there to stop her in a cinematic battle that Su wins. But James Mitchell is always the con man and portrays them both, sending Su Yung and Havoc into the undead wasteland, the desolate desert of perdition, to wander infinitely. But they forget. Rosemary is basically Beetlejuice and can appear anywhere like a cartoon, and with the power to travel anywhere, it's time for the Sisters of the Moon to team up. All this bickering, all this fighting, this entire dark war that started with some insecure dude summoning an undead bride to attack his ex-girlfriend, all this fighting, all this death, all this loss, why? All because Satan needed a bride? Because of marriage? And because of a man? This man, Father James Mitchell, the true villain of this story. With their hatred set aside, Rosemary sends Su Yung and Havoc back to Father James Mitchell's chambers in hell, and while he tries to bargain one last time, Jessica Havoc decides to be the one to shank Father James Mitchell and kill him. His soul gets sent to heaven? Okay. Okay. See, Impact went 2+ years telling this story, and never once did they scale back, instead leaning even further and further into the weird and absurd until we were left with 3 female warriors of the supernatural coming together to kill the real evil in charge, Satan. It's an insane story, but Su Young's arc still has another act left, because now that Susie has been freed, she decides that she likes being Susie and dislikes scaring people. She likes nice people. She likes saying hi. This undead monster gained humanity and a new friend. Entering into the impact zone, a new, bright, colorful woman of positivity. Oh, it's smiling Kylie Ray. The ever bubbly one is oh so bubbly, so positive, so colorful. She's so spunky and smiling. She befriended Susie and took on Flavor and Fire, shortly becoming best friends after. When Rosemary hosted her alternate dimension reality TV show, Wrestle House, they brought in Susie and Kylie Ray, where they were like romantic subplots of other people and etc, etc. But we're not getting into Wrestle House. It was insane.
I got your nose!
You ain't got no nose!
What sorcery is this?
Instead, Kylie Ray became in quick contention for the Knockouts title, now being held by the virtuosa Deonna Purrazzo. Deonna Purrazzo is a technical master. At the young age of 26, she appropriately started calling herself the Virtuosa, the master prodigy of technical wrestling, traveling all around, including being one of Momo Watanabe's Wonder of Stardom defenses. Despite being in the system for years, WWE never featured her because they believed she wasn't ready for TV. She showed up at Impact ready to prove them all wrong, immediately dethroning then champion Jordynne Grace for the Knockouts Championship. Armed with the Fujiwara armbar and the Cradle Pile Driver, Deonna was one of the champions that felt right and deserved, even when she was double champion and TK messed it all up. Along with her little princess helper Kimberly, she would enter a feud against Kylie and would bully Susie to antagonize her. Susie would even be granted a knockout title match against Purrazzo and would surprise everyone with how competitive she got. As Suzu, she wrestles differently than Su Yung, but the moment she does the Arachnorana, Su Young's personality begins to seep and crack through the little ticks, things Kylie Ray is completely oblivious to. But the Virtuosa uses her master technique to overcome Susie and makes her tap out like good fine wine. But she would torture the supportive Kylie Ray and make her watch as she destroyed the arm of the innocent Susie. Oh no! Kylie Ray was supposed to enact her revenge in a title match against Deonna Purrazzo at Bound for Glory 2020. But unfortunately, once again, wrestling reminds us that not everyone is meant to be in the public eye when their mental health stands in the way. Much like Maho Kurone, but definitely not the same condition. Anxiety got in the way of Kylie Ray and her career. She eventually stepped away from wrestling. These days, she seems to be doing better and has her first kid on the way. Wrestling still on her mind. We can all hope she's still smiling. But taking her place at Bound for Glory was the returning Su Yung. Oh no! You broke Susie's arm, this is vengeance. And what we got was a good match between the two to remind everyone that Su Yung can have good matches, not relying on gimmicks. That's the best part of Deonna Purrazzo as champion. She's forcing Su Yung to wrestle her game, take her techniques, overcome them with her power and resilience, and even bust out moves you don't ever see from her. In the end, Su Yung was too much for Deonna and hit the panic switch for her for a much deserved and well-earned victory, proving to everyone that she is a great women's wrestler and deserving of the Knockouts Championship for the second time in her career. Deonna done fucked up now because Suzu and Su Yung are no longer inhabiting one single body. Now Suzu can be like,
"Hi, I'm Susie. You hurt my friends, and that's bad. Now my friend's here, and it's gonna get really bad. I'm sorry."
Who's her friend? Who is she talking about?
and summon Su Yung outside her body, both in one room. But Deonna is not just some technical fighter. No, she's an expert in being a Karen. Oh, she complained and she complained. She said, any opponent can face me. That's alive. I never said anything about the undead. She threatened a lawsuit, all the usual wrestling tropes, but in the end, she accepted that to best Su Yung, she's gotta earn it. She's gotta face Su Yung in a no disqualification match. And this match was even better than their first encounter, I think, utilizing technique and the brutality. Never was Su Yung the overpowered supernatural force that can plague the actual wrestling in a wrestling match. Deonna was able to overcome the undead bride's penchant for murdering, as Su Yung was perhaps stuck in the past of her trauma from being hung herself. Deonna was able to escape and hit the cradle pile driver, La Costa Nostra, on Su Yung and earn her Knockouts title back. But remember, when vengeance is on her mind, a wrathful spirit like Su Yung will not stop tormenting Deonna, forcing the champion into a desperate situation, straight into the hands of the one who can take most advantage. James Mitchell. With his help, Deonna lures Soo Young out, and Mitchell reveals that he has turned Sue's undead bridesmaids against her. She is alone now. Despite fighting back, Deonna lays her out with a pile driver, and James Mitchell does what he can to change her back into Susie. But we didn't get Susie. Susie is free, remember? She's free now. Instead, we got Susan. Susan is a Karen, 100%, a conservative, perpetually angry white woman. Yep, Susan is a prime example of how you can take a superpowered character and reduce them into the most pathetic form you can get, which was the point of Deonna's quest. She wanted to depower Soo Young completely, and that is exactly what she did. She succeeded far better than anyone else ever did, reducing a demon into a putty in sneakers. Look at that footwear. As Susan, she won just once. Just once. She was only ever fodder for Deonna until she managed to completely humiliate her former rival completely by dismissing her and Kimberly's services. Deonna won. She straight up won. She did what an entire dark war in hell was raged for. Neither Rosemary, Jessica Havoc, Father James Mitchell, and Satan himself could finish Soo Young, but Deonna Purrazzo completely broke this demon down into a jobber with no future, and then straight dumped her. Truly, truly extraordinary. We call that silent revenge. Never make her mad. But because Susan would go absolutely nowhere, it didn't take long for Soo Young to reappear and kill Susan for good. Oh, bye, Susan. Because you can't keep Soo Young away. She's immortal. With her bridesmaids gone, she took in the lost Kimberly and then Brandy Lauren as her new bridesmaids and sent them to harvest souls for her. They called her mother and needed to sustain Sue and her hunger for the next phase. This woman who once lived was once a bride to someone who died violently, traumatic enough that her spirit became a vengeful wraith to haunt and seek revenge. She ended up being sought by the devil himself to be his bride, but she never wanted any of that. She set herself free from that obligation and did something amazing. Both Kimberly and Brandy Lauren failed their mission to harvest enough souls to satiate the requirements of their mother, and Soo Young sapped their life away into her own, exposing her now pregnant belly. The undead bride performed a miracle. She's now the undead mother.
Now that we're through the hell with you, we don't mind. We just give it a sigh.
Soo Young's career and impact was an insane story of many twists and introducing new ideas with new characters over the period of 3 years. The story arc involved many talented women who all had a chance to show what good actors they can be. Rosemary and Allie especially. Through this one career arc, we witnessed many individual story arcs, seasons within their own right, and to their credit, Impact let the whole thing go with no restrictions it seemed. And as a result, you have a very insane yet consistent and in the end well-told story about friendship, sacrifice, death, revenge, war, Satanism, and got to witness an undead horror enemy like Soo Young gain innocence through Susie, and even experience the humble life of a white woman, and in the end get rewarded with motherhood. This is Soo Young, and her career is not done. After childbirth, she returned to the Indies back as Soo Young, still haunting to this very day. And if you're someone's insecure alpha male ex-boyfriend jealous of their girlfriend's success, do not, I repeat, do not summon a fucking wraith to eat her. She won't fuck you, bro. It's just gonna end bad. But beyond the character arc, people who follow my channel understand why I watch wrestling and the high praise I can get with certain wrestlers, how I view it as theater, a one-take spectacle where the ring is the stage and the story is told through body language and pure acting in front of a live crowd, how pro wrestlers are the best actors in the world, and Su Yung is no different. I believe this wholeheartedly, as not just in the promos, but with the moments in between the moves, the little nuances that Su Yung does is remarkable. She is always in character, always focused, in the zone, in the moment, present with the thoughts of this traumatic creature of hate and vengeance. She never phones it in. I did a major rewatch and I never saw her phone it in. Ever. I love watching people act. I love performance art. I love actors, be it dance to movies to wrestling. And I love, especially love, watching someone just dead-eye right into their character and completely lock themselves in. It's why I highly respect Daniel Day-Lewis as the GOAT. It's why I loved Isabella Gianni's performance in Possession. Someone just fully committed to the role and letting their body become the vessel it needs to be in order to be filled by the art itself. It's powerful, it's transcendence, it's out of this world ethereal, and it can be done only by the person performing it. Su Yung can only be played by Su Yung, and not just as Su Yung. She performed this way for two other characters as well, and they were completely different characters. This wasn't Three Faces of Foley, who were just slightly different variations of Mick Foley, and I love Mick Foley, but Su Yung and Susie are wildly different characters. Even in the ring, they wrestle differently. As Susan, this overly aggressive Karen, she was super inexperienced in the ring and just brawled. That's how Su Yung approached the character, and it worked. I say all of this because I'm not sure if many have said it aloud, because it needs to be said aloud. Su Yung is a great professional wrestler. She is a great actor and has many occasions shown that she is great in the ring, with matches against Deonna Purrazzo and her matches in TJPW against Maho Kurone and her singles match against Yuka Sakazaki that I couldn't even cover because that's a highlight video of its own.
今のところこのリング上での世界観というものは
基本的な相手が不気味がある、怖がる、もしくは全く怖がらない、何らかのはっきりした反応を示してくれる。
Su Yung is a gem in professional wrestling.
Letter to my future self. Am I still happy I began? Have I grown up pretty? Is Daddy still a good man? Am I still friends with Colleen? I'm sure that I'm still laughing.
And thank you to all my Patreon sponsors for voting for the Su Yung video. I swear this video is only supposed to be 20 minutes and it ended up being an hour. Either way, you guys' support throughout the entirety of the year has been amazing. Some of you have been here for more than 7 months since the beginning. You guys have a lot of support to give me. Thank y'all again. I love all of y'all. To the infamous Jeff, the Up Channel, Geek and Noah's Dad, Anthony Knowledge, Tease, Renee Valdez, Asa Trace, Maddox, Justin Stein, Matthew Pelletruska, Neo Jefu, John Doe, Terrence Danwick, Kev Mullen, Adam K, Ray Kanashige, Party Marty 520, Punkwix Videos, Juggernaut Graphics, Shut Up Ingo.wave, Aaron Zacharias 545222, I Want Victims, J.O.L.A., Julia Sunglasses, Chihuahua, Paul Darren Picklesheimer, Scott Racer, Steven Siemens, Kavatari D, Smoon, and Little Choot Choot. Thank y'all, all of y'all again for your constant support, and to all my other Patreon sponsors in general, my $1 tier, my $5 tier, you guys' support are equally as awesome. Thank y'all as well. And to my $5 Mina Show Coward tiers, I do apologize for not having more content for y'all. Anyways, thank y'all, all of y'all.